If you went on a road trip and you didn't stop for a Big Mac or drop a crispy fry between the car seats or use your McDonald's bag as a placemat, then that wasn't a road trip. It was just a really long drive. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's.
Reality radio for a really great future. We're talking real money.
Work. Test.
Hi, this is Herb testing 1, 2, 3, 4.
Beautiful. All right, here we go.
We're talking real money.
I think I just did that, and Don got mad at me. So, yeah.
You mean sounding like Don?
I'm always hoping. Here we go.
Okay.
Hey, thank you for being part of Talking Real Money here every day, trying to help you figure out money, not make mistakes that you make. Put it in its place. Live with it, but don't let it make you go crazy. And that's what we see every day. And one of the things that we run into on a regular basis is protecting yourself against fraud. There's all kinds of it out there. There's all kinds of people that want to steal your money. And while he didn't fly in with his cape today, because apparently gave the cape the day off.
It's a dry cleaner.
It's a dry cleaner, which makes sense. We are so proud to have and proud to be affiliated with all these years. The ConsumerMan, Herb Weisbaum, thank you for being on Talking Real Money.
It is always a pleasure to be with you, Tom.
It's great to have you. It's great to have you as a friend, I got to say, too. So I appreciate all those things. But there are 1,000 topics, and you write so well for this at Checkbook and in the podcast, and you've always got the stuff out there. But the one that came to mind recently for me, because I listened to a podcast about these people that get hired and they bring them into town and then they loose them on the neighborhood to sell the solar energy, and they just stay there and they hustle, get as many deals as they can. And I always laugh because I think Seattle has like 150 days a year of rain. I mean, how does this work? But
well, this is a national story.
Okay, I was going to say it's not, and this is a national podcast too. But we're in Seattle. But the scams are on the rise, from what I can see. And you wrote a great piece about this recently at your website as well. So tell us about this. What's going on here?
So this is our latest Consumerpedia podcast episode. How to not get burned by solar scams. For a lot of people, with energy prices going up, they want to beat the price hike by putting solar in. And if you have a house that's in the right place, in the right location, and you get a reliable system installed by a competent person and you're hooked up to the grid so maybe you can sell energy back to the power company, it can be a smart way to go. What's happening is these really sleazy salespeople and here's the thing, Tom, they're hooked up with money people. So they're going into neighborhoods and they're trying to fast talk you into buying a thing at the door, a $30,000 system at the door, and the money people behind them are letting them roll their commission into the price of the system, so you really don't know what you're paying for the system, and they're getting people to buy on the spot with high pressure on the spot to sign a digital contract for these solar systems. So there's a whole bunch of things wrong. Number one, the only thing I would ever buy from a door-to-door person is
I can't imagine anything.
Girl Scout cookies.
What about vacuums? And they don't
Girl
do that anymore.
Scout cookies,
Okay,
if I know the kid from the neighborhood.
I see.
Okay, but a $30,000 system to show up with that, number one.
Wow.
People are signing these things on digital tablets, so they see the first page, and buried in page 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all these clauses and all these prices that they never wind up seeing.
And by the way, we'll get back to this, but it's a fascinating aside that basically every legal document now comes as one of those electronic things. Check. You should go through those carefully right before you do.
Absolutely. Or maybe even have it printed out so you can take a look at it.
Good advice.
So that's number 2.
Yep.
Number 3, sometimes you get the system. Sometimes you don't get any system. Sometimes you get a lousy system. Sometimes it's installed improperly, so you cannot hook it up to the grid. There are inspections required. But the biggest lie they're telling you is that this is free because of credits. tax credits. So this is a free system. Well, as you and I'm sure Don know, that credits are something you use to reduce your tax liability.
Yeah.
They're making it sound like the government's giving you free cash. A credit is not cash. So they're making it sound to people like you're going to get the system paid for by the government. You're not. If you get the basic credit is 30%. If you get a $10,000 system, if I'm doing my math with my finger and toes right, that's $3,000.
Sounds like
that
it.
comes off of your taxes if you have the liability.
Yep.
It's not like they give you $3,000 in cash. It's not like so you still have to pay for the system. These people are bamboozled into thinking that the system is free because of credits and incentives, and it's not. And they wind up getting themselves in really deep financial problem for a system that may or may not work. And then, by the way, what do you do when the door-to-door sales guy leaves and they're not around anymore?
Doesn't help much.
Doesn't help much.
Yeah.
So.
And this is up at
Consumerpedia.org. And everything we talk about is also on my website, ConsumerMan.
Okay, I wasn't sure. But you write this great piece about, and they're very aggressive, and they've got a great story to tell. But then many people also get stuck with the financing of this, which is another big part of the racket, right?
Yeah, a lot of times there are balloon payments involved. A lot of times they have no idea what the interest rate's going to be. Again, it's these financial people who are sending these people out into the neighborhood. So I've never seen anything like this conspiracy before. Usually it's just a bunch of people. You're right. There's this gang called the Williams gang or the Williams.
I read the piece about how they go into town and they stay there and
then they leave.
Yep.
This is organized. These are financial people. Shoddy financial people hooking up with shoddy salespeople to rip people off. And, it's basically a more sophisticated version of the door-to-door sales scam. And by the way, in the years past, because I've been doing this for more than 40 years, I have actually
I try not to mention that to people.
That's all right. I'm still alive, standing up straight. I've seen people come through town and literally paint roofs black when they say they're going to retar a roof. I have seen...
No.
Yes.
Wow.
I have seen them put manure material on the driveway when they say they're redoing the driveway. You don't want to, and you know what? Good contractors just don't show up door to door and say, "Hi, we're in the neighborhood," and da-da-da. No, sorry, that's not happening. You need to have the time to check them out. You want to get many estimates before you do solar. You got to make sure your house is right for it, and you got to find out what the incentives are before you even start the project to figure out if it's going to be something that you can afford to do.
And I don't know that I'm knowledgeable enough to know about solar, but does it work here in cloudier places like the Northwest? Does it take a lot of years to pay for itself? I mean, it's not free, for one thing. That's silly.
Quite frankly, we're not as cloudy as we used to be. Thank you, global warming.
Good point there.
But there are certain places, and it's certainly in Washington State, and it's certainly in your listening area, where there's plenty of solar available, and people can really avail themselves of using that. There's also some people want to hook up a battery technology. So they put the battery in, Tom, so when it is making juice, it's putting it in the battery.
Yep.
That's going to be a growing trend, these batteries, and then they can suck the energy when they want. But the key is, be careful, use a reputable contractor, know what you're doing, don't let anybody bum rush you. In the podcast, in the Consumerpedia podcast, I talked to a woman who had somebody just show up, I think she was in Florida, show up in her driveway. These two guys get out of a car, "Hey, we got a deal for you."
Yeah,
and she said they would not take no for an answer. They wouldn't leave. And finally she said, "I can't do anything until my husband gets home." And they show back up again when her husband got home and said to him, "We'd like to see your energy bills so we can figure out how this..." It's like, get the hell out of here.
But your article makes a very good point too, that really at the end of the day, you shouldn't take anything oral. I mean, it should be written down under any circumstance.
And you should read it. And you absolutely need to read it and know exactly what you're getting into. Absolutely. So yes, solar can work. Yes, if you take your time and do the job properly. And again, there may be various ways to approach solar on your roof. There's not one size fits all. That's why if you have a couple of companies come in and give you estimates, I guarantee you it'll vary by thousands of dollars, and I guarantee there'll be different ways that they can do the project. And you want somebody, solar's relatively new. You want somebody who has done many of these, and you want somebody who's got the electrical license that they need, because if you hook this up and it's not done properly, the electric utility will say, "Sorry, you can't hook up to the grid. You can't sell us." They have to agree to that.
Sure.
You can't
just wire it in.
Exactly.
Good point.
So
right.
Be careful. So consumerpedia.org, it's a half an hour on this.
Consumerpedia.
ConsumerPedia.
All right.
.org.
Yeah.
We're a nonprofit.
Yep.
.org. And then there's also a big article on it
and
as well.
your podcast is
ConsumerPedia.org.
Okay.
And by the way, we have all kinds of articles that are linked to the podcast that walk you step how you should be a good solar purchaser, what you need to do, what questions you need to ask. So it's really a very handy to-do list.
Let's take up another one because it was just in the Wall Street Journal recently. And I think I've heard of this, but I'm not sure I knew prior to reading the article what it was. Pig butchering. I mean, I know what pig butchering is because I've had bacon before, but what in the world are they talking about here?
So what does the Wall Street Journal say that is?
Well, they say it's, fattening people up and then taking their money.
Right. So that's been going on for decades now. Somebody came up with a clever name, pig butchering, and everybody's picking it up. So that's why it's getting all the new attention.
No surprise.
Basically, there are two kinds of con artists. There's the ones that are for the quick, easy take, and they're the ones that do the long-term stuff. And the long-term stuff's take a lot longer, but they get bigger reward. So these are the ones, for instance, like the romance scam. They work it and work it and work it and get your confidence, and then they take everything out of your bank
I've
account.
gotten some of those texts from people like, "Hi, this is Joan," blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah. I don't know.
And why do you respond, Tom?
I shouldn't. We probably shouldn't talk about that on the podcast. But no, but if you do, then they got you.
They got you, and it can go on and on and on for the longest time until they build up trust. That's the same thing with pig butchering. There are crypto scams where they tell you to do crypto, and they set up a fake website that shows your progress, but it's fake. They show you what's going on, and then they may even return a little bit of money. They may even give you.
And that's what happened in this case, where they get them in, they show you a couple of trades, this really worked, and then you need to put more money in.
Right, and then when you want to take your money out, then it's like, oh, well, there's this fee to take. Well, it's my money. No, well, there's this fee in the thing, and you will never get your money back because it's gone. So that's the problem. They have all these digital tricks that they can do to convince people that they're making money. They even have little mobile app kind of things. Look, oh my God, I made 500% overnight. No, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
And so that's,
Okay, but what's to protect yourself? First of all, you don't answer anybody who texts you or calls
you, emails, or calls you out of the blue. I always say when I make speeches, you've got to be suspicious of everything. Everything can be faked, especially with AI now. They can fake websites.
That was on my list.
Yeah, they can fake websites. They can fake logos. It's unbelievable. The next podcast that we're dropping right when your podcast airs, it's all about AI and scams.
All right, well, tell us more about that.
And what we did is we found out that they're weaponizing AI now. So for the last year, it's been cleaning up the English on an email they're sending, a scam email. So if they're in some foreign country...
Because you get the ones you read and go, that's not from my bank.
Right.
Give me a break.
So the tip that look for bad language or look for typos, those days are over. You cannot spot a phishing email. They got the logos. They can take you to their fake website that's a carbon copy of Chase Bank or Bank of America.
Sure.
You think you're at that website. Well, now they're using it for romance scams that they can talk to their target, to their victim in real time. So there can be some guy in Nigeria. He can be chatting with you on a video chat.
Might be a slave that might be trafficked anyway.
Exactly, right. Who can talk to you on your video chat, and the computer and the AI in real time will make him a beautiful woman with a voice that matches up to that AI in real time. So with this woman who's a fraud fighter that I talked to, she happens to live here in Washington, worked at the University of Washington, and her whole life is spent exploring these scams. She said to me her 82-year-old father fell for one of these, and he said, Kalina, I talked to her. It was like real time. Yeah. I'm seeing her. I'm talking to her. She exists. It's not a fake. And it's like, that doesn't work anymore. Because we want to believe the eyes and the ears. If you see it and hear it, you believe it. They have now, through the use of AI, gotten around that.
And how big a deal is this?
Huge. Romance scams are huge because what they're doing is it's like the pig butchering. They work and work and work, and they send pictures, and they I love you, and then finally
take the time.
And then once the hit, I need money and money and money, and they clean people out. I mean, I've seen a couple of $1 million in some of these really big romance scams that people have given over time. A couple of $1 million. They have seniors who've got money, and they just milk them dry, and it's just so sad. And there's nothing you can do to get the money back. Once it's in a foreign country, it is gone.
You're not going to be able to go back there. Yeah, I mean, they did point out in the article that many times they get them in the pig butchering situation. They get a little bit of money and they tell you, oh, we have a crypto. We have a guy that knows how to trade crypto. You're gonna and they show you a few of these trades. Look at this. You made this. You made this. Put in more money because you're going to really make the money when you lever up.
Right.
And so again, but going back to how you avoid this is simply not responding to people, or what else can you do?
Not respond and be skeptical. And I'm so concerned about security now that if I get something out of the blue that someone requests information and I wasn't expecting, like if you emailed me, called me and said I'm going to send you an email and give me this information.
Yeah.
But if it's out of the blue, like, hey, it's Tom, give me your social security number or whatever it would be. I mean, that one I'd let go. But if there was something that was sort of possible, I call them up. Did you really send me this email?
Sure.
Because anything can be faked right now, and it's just you have to be extra careful. And because you brought up crypto, can I digress for a second?
Oh, please, because we love it so much here on the program.
So I just came back from what's called the Consumer Assembly, the Consumer Federation of America,
in the nation's
DC.
capital.
Every year, all the consumer types get together, and one of the big panels was on crypto. And they had 2 former SEC people on this panel.
Wow.
And they said that there are basically 2 major reasons why crypto exists. 1, for criminals to use, and 2, for people who want to evade taxes and to avoid regulation want to use. The use of crypto to buy things or whatever is like infinitesimal. I mean, it's like less than 1% of all transactions that take place. And the scary thing, though, is that because there are now crypto ATMs, that sort of has given it an air of legitimacy.
Sure.
So when a criminal says, I want to invest in crypto, just go to the ATM, put your dollars in, and comes out crypto and I'll use it. Well, there's a machine. It's like the bank put it there or something, and it's really scary. And there was a professor from American University, and one of the people in the audience said, could you give us a simple definition of crypto? And she said, it's numbers on a computer program. That means it can be hacked and it can be manipulated.
And it does.
And there's been hacking attacks when they sold them. And she said, and this really scared me, that there are 4 people in the world that control the blockchain, the ledger that takes, because it's all running along. It's transparency,
very transparent.
It's legacy.
Yep.
Well, she said, you buy off or exploit or one of these 4 people, and they could slip in malware, malicious software, or do something that could blow the whole thing up just like that. And there's nothing backing your investment.
Wait, so okay, now you really got me going. How do you feel for crypto as an investment? Because it's a thing. You're a consumer guy.
Stupidity?
I mean, I know investments aren't your specialty.
No,
but
I have a good portfolio.
Okay, I trust you there.
I listen to you guys.
I trust you there, but
it's stupid. It's just sheer stupid. Any financial thing that isn't regulated, and just like when you say if it's not a fiduciary, it's not in your interest. Crypto's not in your interest. Crypto is in the interest of whales, and crypto's in the interest of criminals. That's basically all it is. And anybody who sucks you in, if you have so much money that you can lose everything, and you just want to, instead of going to Las Vegas, you want to just gamble it.
Yep.
But that's what crypto is, gambling.
Take a flyer.
And you need to know exactly. And you know what? The house always wins.
No,
the house always wins.
No question.
So I just thought that was a fascinating panel.
That is.
It was really scary.
What other topics were they discussing?
I led a panel on insurance, both home insurance and car insurance, which is getting so staggering now that we have more than
staggering in terms of the cost.
The cost.
Yeah.
That we have more than $1 trillion of home liability that is now uninsured in this country.
I think in Florida, you can barely buy it.
They can barely buy. The insurance companies are getting out of the marketplace. The regulators are not regulating. In California, because of the wildfires, State Farm said, we're going to pull out of the state unless you give us an emergency order to up the premium 17%. They didn't have to prove anything. They didn't have to show anything. Where's your document? And they said, by the way, this is probably one of 2. We're going to need another 17% in a couple of months down the road. How about showing us your numbers? That's the way insurance. The Maryland insurance commissioner was there, very nice woman, and she said the way the system is set up in my
state, to the state, right?
She says they get the rate increase. They give me the paperwork, and then I have to look at it after the fact. Yeah. No, it's supposed to be before the fact. Show me your numbers, and then we'll let you know if you can do the rate increase. It's very scary how many people are going without insurance, and I don't know. It's going to be a serious problem down the road because the government-based systems, like the one in California, don't have enough money in them to help people.
Yes, I know. I've been following that. Yeah.
The other problem is there are people in those wildfires in L.A. 4 months have gone by. They've paid their premiums on time, regular, like normal good consumers, and the insurance companies are dragging their feet and stalling.
Paying it out.
Yes, and there was one family, she said, that she talked with, that the insurance company said, well, I know your house is filled with toxic smoke and ash and the whole routine. Just get some of those Clorox wipes and just wipe the counters down.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, see, that's something where somebody needs to be fined or go to prison. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Be harder.
You know, exactly.
All right, I got a question for you. So we just touched on this on a recent podcast. These are questions that were given, and some of them were kind of hard. They were given on a high school personal finance challenge.
Oh, thanks, Tom.
Yeah, I know. You're not going to have a problem with this. And by the way, I missed one. Okay. So I thought, well, because it's really inside. But here's the question. So this are... if you suspect you've fallen victim to a scam, what is a good first action? Now, they give you four alternatives.
Okay.
Number A is gather records of your interaction with the scammer to hand over to your bank. That's one. B, move money out of your bank account. C, contact your financial institutions to report the scam and request a new account number and or card. Or D, change your Facebook password if it has the same password as your bank password. I think we can eliminate D fairly easily. And by the way, I'm not on Facebook, so I'm safe on that.
Don't waste time gathering your papers. You contact the financial institution right away.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
Not every fraud is financial,
right?
But if you suspect something, contact the institution. They want to lock things up right away,
and they'll do that. Right?
Yes, and then a credit card. If you do a credit card, a bank, something like that, you lock it up right away. Then you can gather some paperwork and you can report it. The problem is with these scammers now, there's so many of them, and there's so few good guys to go after them that there's probably nothing they can do, which is why you've got to be smart on the front end.
And that's why you do the credit card thing, right?
Yeah,
which you always said, only spend money on the card because there it's the bank's money instead of your money.
Right. The debit card is your money, and you're giving them the numbers to get into your bank account. And I've seen situations, I've written stories about this for Checkbook, where they said, did you give the person your debit card account number? Yes. Well, that's not fraud. You gave it to them. No. Yes, but I gave them this number to buy something, and they didn't send it to me. Well, that's not fraud. That's just a delivery problem. And I've also seen, by law, they have at least 10 days to investigate. That money's out of your checking account. What happens when the mortgage comes due or the rent comes due? Yeah. You got to pay it, and it's not in there. The other thing is these payment apps. Oh my God! I mean, that's where all the fraudsters are trying to get you to do, because it's basically instant and irreversible.
Yeah, once the money's gone, it's gone.
And they all say, all these apps like Zelle, and they say only use it to give it to somebody you trust. And it's not to buy stuff. This is not to buy stuff. And yet people are doing this
all day.
And then when they get screwed, too bad. Sorry, we can't.
All right, I got a question for you around this, and you'll have a good answer.
And by the way, Zelle, after all the pressure that
because there's been a lot of problems with Zelle.
A lot of pressure with them, and people believe it's their bank. It's a subsidiary of banks. They have agreed now that if you're a government imposter scam, so if I'm a bad guy and tell you it's the IRS and I get you to Zelle money, they will probably help you out. Oh. But for everything else, you're on your own. And it's not like a credit card. And by the way, credit cards aren't evil. Credit card.
You pay them. You know.
I have a credit card.
I just got a lot of points from one. It was pretty good.
I just got $475 cash back from my Capital One card. $400. That's cash money.
Real money. Yeah.
I get all kind of protections when I buy things. I get the chargeback right.
And that was my question because I
challenge charges.
I love that. I have a 17-year-old who's making money, spending money,
right,
and she spends it using her debit card. And I always tell her that's the wrong approach, but. Can I get a credit card in my name that she can use?
She can be an authorized user.
Okay.
She can be an authorized and build up her own credit score.
All right.
And by the way, with a debit card or with these pay apps, you are not building up a credit score, which you need in this world more than anything.
Indeed.
You need a good credit score to get a utility, to get a cell phone, to rent an apartment, to get a mortgage, to get a car loan. You got to start, and the longer you have a good credit history, the better it is. Don't be using a debit card. Get your kid a credit card with a
I knew you were going to lecture me on this one. I had it coming.
No, not you. I mean, you listeners,
But it's me too. No,
get a card with a very small limit, or get them to be an authorized user. You got to be able to trust your kids; they're not going to go crazy, and let them know I'm watching your transactions. Sure. And if you go crazy, I'm going to cut the card. They can start a credit file at a very, very young.
So age. I just call my bank and tell them I want to add an authorized user.
Yeah.
You make it sound so easy. I should have done this a long time ago.
We're talking real money.
I know, we are indeed. And we want to thank you for joining us as always. What's next for Herb? What are you working on next?
Buy now, pay later.
Oh.
That'll be a podcast in a couple of weeks.
All right.
More and more people are paying late fees. More and more people in the surveys are saying, I bought more than I should have, really.
Yeah.
And more are regretting that they made the purchase. And now it's getting so bad that people are using, to me, as a personal finance guy, I think you would agree, they're now using buy now, pay later to pay for their groceries, gasoline, or DoorDash. You do not use credit loan to do that kind of purchase. By the time you get the next loan, you haven't even finished up using the gasoline and in the tank now.
Sounds
Very
like payday
scary.
loan or something to me.
It's a step above, but it's certainly, and it's growing. Costco just decided to take it. Costco that won't take American Express is not taking.
They used to, right?
Right.
That used to be their card.
Now it's Visa, and now they're taking. Now they're taking buy now, pay later. And one of the people asked me.
Costco takes buy now, pay
They
later?
just started, and someone asked me on the podcast, why are they doing that? Simple. It sells merchandise.
Yeah, their job is to get the stuff out the door.
People spend more when they use buy now, pay later because it's not money.
People use more when it's credit cards.
Absolutely.
We know that.
So that's coming up. So again, you can find all my stories
Where
on
can we find them? Tell us.
Checkbook.org.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Checkbook.org.
Okay. Yeah.
Consumerpedia.org. I hope you check out the podcast, subscribe.
Okay.
We do all kinds of financial stories. We do because I talk to you all the time. And then everything is at my website, ConsumerMan.com. If you go there, you can sign up for my weekly newsletter. You'll get all the stuff I do. You'll know the podcast. You can even write me a question. I respond to every single person who writes me through the website.
What, every person?
Every single person.
Oh, that's awesome. I think
That's why I don't sleep.
we answer most of the questions, but I don't know that we answer all of them. So that's really
well, if
great
it's something
stuff.
that says, by the way, Herb, you're a moron. I heard you on Talking Real Money. I don't respond to that.
we have two crypto people that write us basically every week telling us we don't know what we're talking about.
Right.
So
good luck, God bless.
Yeah,
and,
we don't answer them,
Right.
at least not the way I'd like to
No,
answer them. So,
exactly.
well, thank you for doing this as always. Thank you
fun.
for coming in and taking your time.
It was
Herb,
fun.
as you mentioned, the places you can find all his great work. I hope we're going to have you back at Retire Meet too.
Absolutely.
I think it's next
February.
Yeah,
I love retirement.
Okay, good. Well, we love having you there. So, if you've got questions for us, all you do is go to the website talkingrealmoney.com, click on Contact Us, and you fill it out. You can do that verbally. You can record one. You can send us one. We're here to answer all those questions. I'm not as good as you. I don't answer every question personally. That is really good.
You also have a sideline.
I know, but I enjoy it. I do like calling people from time to time. And they go, "Wait, the guy from the podcast?" I go, "No, it's AI. It sounds a lot like the guy, but it's not." And that's scary about the woman.
I get hurt because for those who are listening, I was on TV here in Seattle
you're on TV nationally too.
And they go, Herb, I was 12 years old when I first saw it. I was like, thank you so much.
That really makes my day.
I feel like Jerry Lewis. I have Jerry's kids. I have Herb's kids all out there.
You just got recognized in the lobby when people are like, Herb, that's Herb right there. So anyway, questions, send them to us. If you want more help, go to the website because we're going to be here every single day talking real money.
The opinions and views expressed on this podcast were current on the date recorded.
Opinions, estimates, forecasts, and statements of financial market trends that are based on current market conditions constitute our judgment and are subject to change without notice, including any forward-looking estimates or statements which are based on certain expectations and assumptions. Although information and opinions given have been obtained from or based on sources believed to be reliable, no warranty or representation is made as to their correctness, completeness, or accuracy. Information presented on the podcast is not personalized investment advice from Appella Wealth. The views and strategies described may not be suitable for everyone.
This podcast does not identify all the risks, direct or indirect, or other considerations which might be material to you when entering any financial transaction.
Past performance does not guarantee future results, and profitable results cannot be guaranteed. We hope you realize that the information provided on Talking Real Money is for informational, educational, and hopefully enjoyable purposes only. The podcast is not trying to get you to buy or sell any financial products or securities. Instead, the program is provided as a public service by Appella Wealth, a fee-only registered investment advisor.
Please see Appella Wealth's ADV Part 2A on our website for information regarding Appella's fees and services.
Appella Capital, LLC, DBA Appella Wealth, is an investment advisory firm registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. The firm only transacts business in the states where it is properly registered or excluded or exempt from registration requirements. Registration with the SEC or any state securities authority does not imply a certain level of skill or training. Appella does not provide tax or legal advice, and nothing either stated or implied here should be inferred as providing such advice. Thanks for listening, and please visit TalkingRealMoney.com for more information and important disclosure related to performance of any specific index or fund quoted in this podcast. And the lawyers get richer.